My neighbors threw me a surprise birthday party. I wish they hadn't. I've lived in the same apartment complex for 3 years. Nothing exciting ever happened here. The walls were thin. The elevators broke every other week. Someone's dog barked at exactly 2:17 a.m. every night, like it had a personal schedule. It was ordinary, comfortably ordinary, which is why I was shocked when everyone remembered my birthday. I hadn't told anyone, not recently anyway. Maybe I'd mentioned it once while chatting with my elderly neighbor Martha. Maybe it spread from there. Still, when I came home from work that Friday evening and found a banner hanging across the hallway that read, "Happy Birthday, James," I couldn't stop smiling. My door was open. Inside, my apartment was packed. Neighbors I barely knew stood around laughing and eating pizza. Someone had hung streamers from my ceiling fan. Martha waved excitedly. Surprise! Everyone cheered. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my keys. For the first time since moving there, I felt like I belonged somewhere. The party lasted hours. People shared stories. We played stupid games. Someone brought a cake with my name written perfectly in blue frosting. Even stranger, they somehow knew details about me. My favorite soda, my favorite pizza toppings. The fact I hated balloons because one popped in my face during kindergarten. Little things. Things I didn't remember telling anyone. I figured people notice more than we realize. By midnight, I was exhausted but genuinely happy. As everyone began leaving, Martha stopped me. "One more thing." She handed me a small wrapped box. "Open it tomorrow." I smiled. "Why tomorrow?" Her expression briefly changed. Not enough to alarm me, just enough to feel wrong, because you'll appreciate it more then. Then she left. The next morning I woke up feeling great. The box sat on my kitchen counter, small, heavy, wrapped in plain brown paper. I made coffee and opened it. Inside was a key, just a normal brass key. Attached was a tag. It read, "Storage room B12. Our apartment building had storage rooms in the basement. I didn't rent one. At least I didn't think I did. Curious, I headed downstairs. The basement smelled like dust and old concrete. Rows of metal doors stretched into darkness. I found B12. The key fit perfectly. The lock clicked. The door opened. Inside was a chair. That's all. One wooden chair. Nothing else. No boxes. No shelves, no storage, just a chair, and on the seat sat a photograph. I picked it up. My stomach dropped. The picture showed me sleeping, in my bed, taken from inside my bedroom. I stared at it, confused. Then I laughed nervously. Somebody's weird joke had to be. I flipped the photograph over. Written on the back, "Happy birthday. Thank you for staying with us." The laughter died in my throat. I checked the apartment immediately. Doors locked. Windows locked. Nothing missing. No signs of entry. I convinced myself it was some elaborate prank. Maybe someone had snapped the picture during the party. Maybe. But the more I looked at the photo, the less that explanation worked. The angle was wrong. The lighting was wrong. The photo had clearly been taken weeks ago. I threw it away, or at least I tried. That evening I found it back on my kitchen table, face up, waiting. I live alone. No one else has a key. I stood there for nearly a minute staring at it. Then I called the police. They searched the apartment, found nothing. One officer suggested maybe I was being harassed. Another suggested maybe a neighbor was playing a prank. Neither seemed concerned. I wanted to believe them. That night, I installed a security camera facing my living room. I slept badly. At 3:12 a.m., my phone notified me of movement. I opened the camera feed. The living room was empty. Then the camera shifted, very slowly, as if someone had grabbed it. The image tilted toward the hallway, toward my bedroom. Then the feed went black. The next morning the camera was gone. Not broken, gone, completely gone. I searched every room, nothing. I checked the building's security footage. The landlord refused at first, but eventually agreed. We watched together. I entered my apartment at 6:04 p.m. Nobody entered afterward. Nobody left. Not once. The camera disappeared anyway. The landlord looked disturbed. He asked me a strange question. How long have you lived here? 3 years. His face paled. Then he abruptly ended the meeting. I never got an explanation. The next few days became unbearable. Neighbors smiled at me constantly. Too constantly. They always seemed to know where I'd been. One morning Martha asked, "Did you enjoy the movie last night?" I hadn't told anyone I'd gone to a movie. Another neighbor asked if my headache had improved. I'd never mentioned having one. I started noticing people watching my apartment door. Not openly, just enough. A glance here, a smile there. Always watching, always aware. 1 week after my birthday, I found another photograph. This time it was under my pillow. It showed me as a child, 8 years old, standing beside my mother. I had never seen the picture before. The date written on the back was impossible, because it had been taken 6 months before I was born. I checked with my mother. She became silent when I sent her the image. Then she called. Her voice trembled. "Where did you get that?" "I found it. James." Long pause. "Come home." I drove 4 hours to my hometown. The moment I arrived, my mother locked every door, every window, every curtain. Then she told me something she'd hidden my entire life. I was adopted. Not unusual. Lots of people are. But that wasn't the part she was afraid of. According to adoption records, I had been found abandoned outside an apartment building that no longer existed, demolished decades ago. The address was familiar, painfully familiar, because it was the exact location where my current apartment complex now stood. My blood ran cold. "No," my mother nodded. "There were rumors." "What rumors?" She looked away. "People went missing." I returned the next day. I should have left forever. I know that now, but I needed answers. The building seemed different, quieter, almost expectant, like it knew I'd learned something. That night there was a knock at my door. 3 slow taps. I opened it. Nobody there, just a note. "Meeting tonight. Basement, midnight." I should have called the police. Instead I went. The basement was full. Every resident stood silently in a circle. Dozens of people. Martha stood in the center, smiling. James. Nobody else spoke. Nobody moved. Just watched. I asked the only question that mattered. "What is this?" Martha's smile widened. "You've finally come home." The crowd nodded. Every single person, in perfect unison. I backed away. "What are you talking about?" Martha sighed sadly. "As if you don't remember." The lights flickered, then went out. For 1 second, just one. When they returned, the room had changed. The neighbors were gone. The basement was gone. I stood in an enormous underground chamber. Ancient stone walls surrounded me. Hundreds of people stood there. Not neighbors, not humans. Something wearing human shapes. Their faces shifted constantly, eyes appearing and disappearing, smiles stretching too wide, skin rippling like water, and in the center stood Martha, or what had been pretending to be Martha. It towered nearly 10 feet tall, its mouth split from ear to ear. "Happy birthday." Memories exploded into my head. Not memories. Instincts. Truth. I remembered darkness. I remembered being carried. I remembered voices whispering around me. I remembered a child being taken, a replacement being left behind. Me. I wasn't abandoned. I was planted, placed among humans, raised away from whatever lived beneath that building. And now, After 30 years, they had come to collect me. I ran. The chamber shook. The creatures screamed. Not angry, excited, like family cheering at a reunion. I reached the stairwell, burst through the basement door, raced into the parking lot. Behind me came hundreds of footsteps, not chasing, following, patiently, knowing something I didn't. I drove all night, never stopped, never looked back. That was 6 months ago. I've moved 3 times, changed my phone number, changed my name. Every week I receive another birthday card. No return address, no stamp, just a simple message. Always the same. We'll celebrate together next year. Yesterday I received the newest one. The envelope contained a photograph. It showed me sitting here, writing this post, taken from directly behind me. There's only one thing worse than knowing they're watching. The fact that the photograph shows someone standing next to my chair, smiling, and when I turned around, the room was empty. At least I thought it was, until I noticed a new banner hanging above my front door. I don't remember putting it there. It says, "Only 27 days left."